we're just talking about this cat who hasn't been home for up to 3 months, and how do we how do we manage a situation like that when we have animal communication as a practice? It's different to me if you don't have animal communication, because you will act and think and feel a certain way, and then it's looking at what is this bringing up for us in terms of how do we feel when we know we can communicate with animals, but when our cat is not home and hasn't been home for a period of time, what questions does it bring up about animal communication? It does get us to examine what we believe about animal communication, what triggers comes up for us when our animals are not in our familiar environment. So before the 3 months, what was his habit? Was he home? Did he visit a lot? Did he come indoors, or was it always outdoors? Did he come for food? What was his pattern in behavior? You've done all you can do in terms of leaflets, putting the word out there. Um, it's all the practical things, it's like, what can you physically do? Because the first few weeks is important to physically do something. And also that's you don't want to feel helpless as well. So you're at this stage where 3 months have gone. It's to say to yourself, I've spoken to as many people as I can. I've put leaflets out. So you need to hopefully, get help from other people to be able to spot him. So then we turn to, if there's nothing left to do on a practical level, what else is available to us? What I would do is really look at the character of the animal. That's really, really important, because that will give you a clue to how they can either look after themselves or not look after themselves. So it's tuning into what is his character like. If I was to compare a dog and a cat, cats who do have the independence to go outdoors and roam, they they have more they have more awareness of the outside world. Dogs, although they go outdoors, they only ever go with their person. And most of the time, they get taken in a car and taken somewhere, or they may get lost when they're not in their familiar surrounding because they've gone in a car and gone somewhere. So I always feel that there's a difference when we're communicating with animals who are either missing or lost. I find that with cats, there's more of a chance that the conversation that we can have with them, if they're in familiar territory, I feel like there's more in control to a degree. Also with dogs, I think there's more risks of dogs being stolen. Cats, unless it's a pedigree cat, cats, you could also look at the fact that they can then decide to go live with another human being, another family. It could be their choice, whereas a dog wouldn't be. So I actually look at animal communication in these circumstances, bearing in mind there's a difference in terms of how they interact with the outside world. Animal communication, I don't believe, can give us a definite answer of whether an animal's alive or dead. I say that, but I wonder what your thoughts are. Have you ever had any experiences? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's possible to find out from an animal whether they are alive or not? It's the it's a,
I,
it's a question that anytime I get any inquiry from pet owners who want help with animal communication to find an animal, That's what we want. It's like that's our need as a human being for lots of reasons. One is if they have died, there's a part of us that thinks, what, how long do I keep looking? And if they have passed, if they got knocked over by a car and they had already passed and I'm still looking for him, what we're really saying is we're looking for some certainty. I'm just going to bring in some experiences of mine, maybe not related to missing animals, but more along the questions of how do we know if an animal is alive or not alive in this physical realm or in the spiritual realm. Just at the weekend, a friend of mine contacted me because she had to take her dog quite suddenly to the vet hospital. She said, oh, he suddenly got ill very quickly and they don't know what's wrong and they're going to run some tests. So she asked me to just check in on him. And I just had this feeling that his body was so tired and it wasn't like, no, dear, this is bad news. I didn't get that knowingness, but my knowingness was, I think this could be it. I did say to the dog, if it feels as if your system, your body system is so tired and so overloaded, then what I want to do for you or check with you is how are you feeling emotionally? How can I expand your energetic field? Our energies will always benefit from being boosted. And it didn't look as if he was going to pass, but after 24, 48 hours of being in the hospital, it came to the realization that he wasn't getting any better. So they did have to euthanize him the day after. I could feel almost like, no, there isn't any, it's like the body just couldn't do it. There wasn't enough energy to keep going. I also had an experience where I was involved with a missing cat, and I've been connecting with it for about a week until one day I had the cat give me the word passed, but I was under a little bit of pressure. So I also bring that into it because the animal's person was like, is he alive? Is he alive? Is he dead? Is he? So I was under a little bit of pressure. Whereas the situation with my friend, I wasn't under any pressure. I just had that information and then I sat with it. With this missing cat, I felt like I needed to keep finding out. So whether that plays a part, I'm not sure. But I got to a point where I had this word passed. So then I said to the person, that's what I got. And so she concluded, and I had to conclude. I says, as far as I'm aware, if that's the word, then it's likely. So you can't still say 100%. I said, it's likely he's passed away. 48 hours later, cat walks through the door after being missing for a whole week. I was like, how does that work? And the lady was so happy her cat was back. But I wanted to ask the cat. So I went back to the cat and said, what was that about? I got the word passed and I thought it meant pass away. And the cat showed me a visual of how he'd fainted and he's been getting thinner and thinner. And as a result of getting thinner, he could then squeeze through the gap that he was trapped in. It was like he passed out. So in that moment, when I got past, was likely the moment he passed out. But of course, we have to accept our limitation when it comes to the translation. And so I'm sharing these stories with you because there's no guarantee. It's your own experience. But what I do believe is that it's important to empower an animal who's not in their familiar territory. There are lots of things we can do that we may not think about focusing because our primary motivation is to find them physically. So I would help with missing animals whereby I would check them for any stress and clear the stress for them. Because if you're stressed and you're locked down and you're scared and you're in fear mode, then nothing positive is going to happen. What can I do to release stress from you? What can I do to clear any emotion that's negative in your energy field? And so I would work on their emotions and their energy field. And also, I like to remind animals that they're smart. And I would give them guidance as well. So there's a case where I was working with this, again, with cats. I find that there's more negotiation with cats. I said to the cat, the only way you're going to be able to get home if you're lost and you're not in your familiar territory and your person can't find you because you are too good at hiding. You have to make yourself seen to be seen. So I give the cat those instructions and then I check the emotion of the cat when I suggest that. Now, some cats will go, no, I don't want to be seen. So I will make sure my instructions are clear. Find a human being that you feel safe with. And then I'll say to them, what emotions do they need to develop in order to have that ability to go find a human? For example, I might say, do you need courage? Do you need confidence? And then if they say, no, I've never trusted humans, I've always run away from humans, then I'll work with them to release any trapped emotions because I use emotion code. So this is when you need healing modalities to say, okay, if you have always been suspicious of humans, let's work together for you to not feel suspicious because you need to find someone who will see you. So it could be that if he's willing to come home, you could say to him, I've put posters out there, I've spoken to people, but they need to be able to see you. And then maybe that could be one thing he can do, because you can only do so much. We also need the animal to do something.
Hmm.
Say, we want you home, we miss you. And then it's also saying at the same time, if you are trapped, if you are in trouble, then you have to tell me if you're able to tell me. Now, I say that because I've had that experience with Ziggy when he was so badly injured, and I've never had it before, but it was like so insistent. I want to live, I want to live, I want to live. It was so strong that it helped me believe that when it is so important for the animal, they will make sure we get the message.
Hmm.
But animals don't tend to ask for help in that way unless it's urgent. Send confidence, send him courage, send him strength to move or shift into offering emotional and spiritual support. We respect you. We give you the confidence. We give you the strength to make good decisions. That's why I always like to say to animals who are lost, I say, I trust that you will make good decisions for yourself where you can. So for a cat, I feel like they've got more options if I compare it with a dog. So say if a dog's been stolen, they're under somebody else's, a human being's control. But I hold out hope for cats because cats have outdoors, they've already know the surroundings, they know what it's like to survive in many ways outdoors as well. It takes courage to talk about it as well because it's very emotional. Okay.